Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 1 of Pet Shop of Horrors. We are here with another day and another reaction for the Donation Reward Appreciation Week. Once again, for all those who might be newly tuning in and somehow haven't heard, this entire week we are doing the first episodes of a bunch of different series, 10 different series, as well as the donation reward stuff we've already been reacting to, and a couple movies for the weekend. So this entire week is donation reward specific. The 10 series that are new that we're starting will not be continued right away. They will be gone into in the future. They will be continued at some point then. We're just getting to the first episodes early, so that we can say we've done so. We can say, like, a lot of these have been waiting for a long time. A lot of people have been waiting for these for a long time, since they originally donated. And because of that, I decided, let's do this week. Let's finally start to get to all of these shows at once. And at some point in the future, we'll return them when we get slots opened and everything. We'll return to them. And for the time being, at least we'll have gotten to something from them. And like I said, we're doing like the shows that we've already got in our slots as well, such as Hell's Paradise, which we did an episode of yesterday. We will also have Symphogear G represented this week, because that is a donation reward as well. But other shows that are currently on our slots, such as Jujutsu Kaisen, will not be coming this week. Just because this week is specifically for donation rewards, and Jujutsu Kaisen on this channel is a First Impressions continuation series. That's an entire different type of video we have on the channel. If you don't know what that is, I would suggest checking those out. I explain what the first impressions are on those videos, or you could just ask in the comments below. I can fill you in there. But yeah, so donation rewards, for those who might not know, we have a format on the channel where if you donate via PayPal, you get a reward. One reward for every donation that you send in. The donation can be any amount, does not matter. And your reward can basically be anything, as long as I haven't seen it. It can be a movie, it can be a show, it can be something on YouTube, doesn't matter. As long as I haven't seen it before, it's fair game. So the question is, what are we getting to this week? Well, it's mostly shows. Like I said, we have the 2 shows that we already have on our in our slots. You can see all of our slots, all of our currently playing stuff on the channel banner. But we also have 10 shows that we are starting. These shows were requested at various other points during this year, and even in some cases probably last. And because of that, the people who donated for them have been waiting for me to get to them. The problem is there's just so many shows, and I don't have enough time to record everything. So I just haven't gotten a chance to get to a lot of these shows on the channel yet. Like I said, by doing this, we're able to at least say we've gotten to them, and it kind of breaks down and shortens the gap between getting to this and actually continuing the series. Plus, this will help me decide like what order I want to end up continuing them in later. Like once I have a slot open up, for example. Like let's say I finish Symphogear G. So a slot for a donation reward show will open up at that point. And so it's like, okay, what do I want to replace Symphogear G with? What do I want to react to on the regular? At that point, I will get to choose, and I'll have a different order based on what these first episodes are like for me. And the same goes when I finish Hell's Paradise and so on and so forth. It's just continuing, and it'll change my, I guess you could say, priority of order. based on what these first episodes are like and how much they get me excited to watch more. So today, all of that out of the way, we are getting to the first episode of Pet Shop of Horrors. This is a donation reward for Isabel. So I don't know anything about this. It's an anime series. It's a short series. It's like only like a handful of episodes long. We're still only doing the first episode today, though. That's how this week goes. That's what we're doing here. And I don't know anything about it. The title kind of reminds me of two different things, though, weirdly enough. It reminds me of Little Shop of Horrors, which, if you don't know, is a stage musical that was turned into a movie in the 80s, starring Rick Moranis. One of my favorite musicals of all time, has one of my favorite musical songs of all time in it, called Suddenly Seymour. It's just an absolutely fantastic production. And I've seen mostly the Rick Moranis movie version, but I've seen like clips and stuff here and there of other versions from various stage productions and whatnot. I prefer the Rick Moranis one from everything I've seen personally. But yeah, I very much think of that just because the titles are so similar. Little Shop of Horrors, Pet Shop of Horrors. I don't think this is going to have anything to do with that, though. I don't think that there's going to be any real connection there. Because the story of Little Shop of Horrors, basically, alien plant comes down, coerces a guy who finds it into feeding it humans and taking over the world, basically. There's other parts of the plot, too, but that's the general gist of just the most basic synopsis. There are other plot lines in the story, though, as well. But it also reminds me of Pet Sematary, weirdly enough. Like, when I first heard the title, that did come to mind. Pet Sematary is a Stephen King story that was adapted into multiple movies, actually. There's been multiple ones, including a more recent one that came out, like, I want to say, like, only a couple years ago. And I've only seen one of them, and I think it was the original. And I think I saw it once when I was young. The original came out, I believe, in the 80s. And I don't remember much about it at all, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, it's like, those automatically came to mind when I heard the title of this. I don't know if the title is going to be more like a clever kind of, like, play on things, like some kind of like intelligent, thoughtful title rather than like literal, or if it will just be literal. Maybe it's about some kind of haunted pet shop. I don't fucking know. I have no context for this. I don't think I've ever heard anyone even talk about this. I think I might have heard it like once or twice just by name prior to it getting requested. So I'm going into this pretty damn blind. I'm excited to see what it's like, though, and hopefully I end up liking it. Now, just as a reminder, this week this is all donation rewards. They are not first impressions. So that means that I am not basing whether or not I'll continue these off of the first episode. Almost everything, if not everything we react to this week, will be continued. The only exceptions will be if a first episode ends up proving to be something that is like so bad for me, or just something that I am just so excessively not into, that I have like not only no interest in returning to the series, but I actively have negative interest in returning to the series. In other words, that I have active disinterest in ever watching it again. But that's rare that ever happens. Usually I can get through a few episodes before I really make a decision. So, like I said, most, if not all of them, will be continued. It's just a matter of how many episodes I will continue, and if I'll get through the entirety of the series. With something like this, though, and again, unless it's like really like bad for me, um, it's like only a handful of episodes long. I'll probably be able to get through all of this anyway, just because of that. And I think they're normal length episodes. At least this first episode is. I know for sure. Um, but yeah, we're just gonna get to this. Hope for the best. See what this has in store. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I wanted to look up the voice cast in here, and I didn't recognize anyone except for the voice of Alice, who was Wendy Lee. And Wendy Lee is actually a pretty notable name in anime dubbing. She was Faye Valentine in Cowboy Bebop, which is a fantastic dub. And she does fantastically in that. She's Angel in The Big O, which a lot of people, I feel, don't even remember that series, but I do. I watch that all the time on Adult Swim and whatnot. She was TK in Digimon Adventure. She was let's see here. I have to scroll down my list here. She was Queen Serenity in Sailor Moon. She was actually in multiple Digimon series, according to this. She was in Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, which is commonly praised. She was multiple characters in Naruto. She's multiple characters, including Yoruichi in Bleach. So that's a pretty notable one, too. She's the child voice for Albert in Gankutsuo, The Count of Monte Cristo. Great dub there. She's Lisa in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That's a really good one. She's multiple voices as well in the Stardust Crusaders. She's Bulma in the Bang Zoom dub of Dragon Ball Super. She was multiple characters in Durarara X2, multiple characters in One Punch Man. She has a huge list of stuff here. I'm just like scrolling down this massive ass list. Geez, there's just so much here. Goodness gracious. There's a lot of stuff here I haven't seen. She was in Kiki's Delivery Service, apparently. And that had a pretty good dub. More Digimon stuff. Cowboy Bebop, the movie. Oh, she was in Redline, apparently. That's fun. She's voiced Conan Edogawa in multiple Case Closed movies and whatnot. She was in Belle, the movie Belle. She's done video game voicing as well, including the character Sayoko in Persona 4. She was Athena Sykes in Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies. That's a major character too, so. Yeah, she's done a lot of big voice acting stuff. Like, she's pretty well known, and she's probably the biggest VA who was in this. Um, and probably the best voice for as little of a voicing role as she had. Like, let's be honest, Alice didn't say much. But it's just wild how terrible this was. Also, the voice at the beginning with the guy who was talking on the phone who got the tiger. Let's be honest, was really kind of racist. It was a really racist, really stereotypical, offensive Asian stereotype voice. I used probably way too many words there to describe that, but you understand what I mean. It was an offensive Asian stereotype of a voice, and it's like this dub apparently came out in 2000, and it's like I know that was like 23 years ago now, which is insane to think about, but it's like even in 2000, that seems like that's not okay. Like, this isn't the Ghost Stories dub, which is purposefully, like, terrible in that regard. It's like, and I think he also called the shop owner the F term for a gay person, the slur. I'm not gonna say it. But I think he also used that word as well, and it's just like, oh my god. The voice acting was really bad, though, especially with the plainclothes police. I don't know why he was in plainclothes. He shouldn't have been in plainclothes. Also, he just, like, kicked in the door of this place. It's like, you cannot just do that. Police officers can't do that. One, in order to enter a house, you have to have a warrant. You cannot legally enter a house without a warrant. Two, if you're on duty, you can't be in plainclothes. You have to be in uniform. It's like literally nothing that, even if he found something there he could have used for his case, it wouldn't have been admissible. It couldn't have been used because it was what would be the word? It was received. Received is definitely not the right word, but the evidence was gained. Let's just put it that way. The evidence was gained under illegal means. Going back to Phoenix Wright, since Wendy Lee was in that as Athena Sykes, it's like, if you've ever played the Phoenix Wright, the Ace Attorney games, then you'd know that, yeah, you can't just do that. It's like, I think that is actually in a couple of the cases where it's like if you like obtain evidence under illegal means, it can't be used. If I'm remembering right, I think that is used in a couple of the cases. But it's like, it's just wild. The actual like plot outside of the bad voice acting and all of that jazz, the cop, being bad at being a cop, which isn't actually surprising. That's actually extremely common. But the actual plot. So we have this couple. They seem pretty wealthy. Let's be honest. Their daughter dies, and they're heartbroken about it. It's very clear that they adored their daughter. And so they went to this pet shop to get a pet to hopefully cheer them up. The shop owner is like this really like wild, like almost supernatural, like me. Like, he specifically refers to them as humans in this episode. It's like, I don't think he's a human. But he brings them to the back where he offers them a rabbit that in reality that really looks like their daughter Alice, like exactly identical. And he gives them the conditions for selling them the rabbit. The conditions are pretty simple, too. You can't show her to anyone else, which they actually do succeed at that. That was never one of their issues. You have to burn incense at all times, which they never actually do. Like, they just never do that. And the third thing is, the most important, they can't feed her anything but vegetables and water. And they break the last one pretty damn quickly. Because she starts begging for a cookie. So the wife is like all for it. She's like, okay, let's go get her let's grab her one of these cookies. She wants a cookie, get it for her. The husband's like, no, we can't. That's against the rules. And she's like, she wants the cookie. She's getting the cookie. The wife is 100% more in the wrong here. The husband does give in only after Alice calls him daddy and everything. He just kind of gives in and everything, but he was super against it at first. You cannot argue that. The mother was definitely like more in the wrong in that regard. But they give her the cookie, and she eventually starts eating a shit ton of the cookies, becomes addicted. And we later we see her stomach split open, babies come out. And it's later revealed that it's just like creepy imagery and that they're just rabbits. But we find out that this is directly connected to what happened to the actual Alice. That this is symbolism, basically. Which kind of leads me to believe that this guy somehow found out what happened to the real Alice. Maybe he could read their minds or something, or just knew somehow, magic or whatnot. I don't fucking know. But it mirrors what happened to her. Just like how this fake Alice wanted the cookie and was begging for it. When the real Alice was in the hospital, she was begging for drugs because she had become addicted to drugs. See, the real Alice grew up in a home that was too loving is the wrong way to put it. It would be more accurate to say it was too lenient. Her parents never punished her for anything, never basically made her understand the difference between right and wrong. And I'm not saying that they had to hit her. Physical punishment is never okay, but you can punish a child without abusing them. And you can make them understand the difference between right and wrong. But Alice grew up and eventually became addicted to drugs. This got her extremely sick, and she eventually was in the hospital, where she begged her mother for drugs one last time because she was addicted. She had a literal sickness that she couldn't get over, and she just was begging for more. And her mother didn't know how to say no to her because she had never done so. So she gave in. She gave her the drugs one last time, and it caused Alice to die. Her parents, her mother specifically, did cause her death. And it was out of love. It was 100% out of love, but it was also 100% wrong to do. Giving in to someone's begging and requests and demands when they're under that kind of state and addicted like that is not okay. One last hit or one last drink or whatever it is not going to be like, oh, it's only one, they'll be okay. No. They could die. Your daughter was in a hospital bed. One last hit is not going to be okay. That's not how that works. But they loved her to the point where they couldn't say no, and she killed her own daughter because of it. But neither her nor her husband would admit to that. They didn't see it that way. They were just showing their daughter love. And it's extremely sad because they did love her. It was out of love, but it was also bad. It was wrong. It was unintentionally murder. And so we see that the cookies that they gave this fake Alice, this rabbit, poisons her. And once again, the mother specifically kills her daughter. It's a repeat of the first time. As well as all the other rabbits who came from the mother, because during the breeding it was passed along in the genetics and all. But it's a repeat. By refusing to follow the rules and giving in to the fake rabbit Alice's begging, she made the same mistake that killed her real daughter, and it shows that she didn't learn from that. She never learned her lesson. She never understood that what she had done is why Alice died. And it cost her everything. It cost her Rabbit Alice. It cost her her husband's life. She was left with nothing. And it's actually extremely sad. Extremely sad, extremely dark. It's pretty fucked up. Like, it's actually, like, upsetting. And it's wild that it wasn't ruined by any means, but it was definitely made less impactful by this dub. The dub being so bad for the most part, outside of Alice's VA, who's like the only one who did good. The dub being so bad and having issues even with like some offensive shit and all was distracting from the quality of the rest of the story. But like I said, it doesn't ruin it. I definitely still want to see more. This is like only a few episodes long. It's a very short series. So it's definitely one I can get through if we're going to have more stories like this. It's just this dub. Oh my god, this dub. I don't know. So I'm not going to assume. I don't know the reason why, Isabel, you specifically requested the dub. Maybe it's because of its low quality. You thought it would be more fun for me to react to because of that. I don't know. I'm not going to assume, and I'm not blaming you at all. I'm not. I want to make that very clear. If you or anyone else requests something that has some offensive stuff in it, or is something I don't like, or in this case, it's just like, oh, I find the dub to be terrible. It's like, I'm not blaming you. You don't have to apologize. I'm just stating something. I don't know why you requested specifically that. And for the quality of something, like, I don't know if I'm going to like something or not when I go into it. Like, as I've stated in the past, I usually can't tell if I'm going to like something until I actually see it. Because there's been plenty of movies and shows and stuff I thought I would love and ended up hating. And vice versa. Plenty of shows that I thought I would hate but ended up loving. Unless it's like from something that like a series or a franchise that I already know I love, it's almost impossible to tell. So, you never have to apologize if you request something that I don't end up liking. You never have to apologize if you request something that has some, like, offensive stuff in it, because I know a lot of older stuff, especially, uses offensive language and stuff still, unfortunately. It's like that's a product of the times, and while it was never okay, it's something that I gotta live with having existed. And as long as I acknowledge and understand that it was never okay, I can live with it, even if I don't agree with it and all. And I'm just glad most movies nowadays have gotten past doing shit like that. Most. um, so you don't have to apologize for anything, Isabel, just in case you're worried about my reaction to this and everything. Because again, I did enjoy a lot of it with the story and the creepiness and the symbolism behind how the mother just made the same mistake all over again. I actually really liked that aspect of it. Um, but it wasn't perfect, and something an older anime dub a lot of times isn't going to be perfect. Um, just with the Americanizations of stuff, the dialogue, just all that stuff. It's like, plus the dub quality itself, the quality of the voice acting. It's like, yeah, older stuff like this, not as great. There are exceptions, especially around this time period. There are definitely dubs from around this time that were much better. Um, but there's also dubs that around this time that just did not work well. In a lot of cases, it just depends on the voice actors who are in it as well. Because there's a lot of voice actors from the past who are known as huge names now, who got their start in some of that earlier stuff and were making names for themselves with that. And they did a great job. Like Chris Sabat. Chris Sabat started with like Dragon Ball Z and stuff. Like he was Vegeta and Piccolo and everything. And it's like he was fantastic. Another one of his early roles was Kuwabara in Yu Yu Hakusho. Fantastic. Of course, he's better at voice acting nowadays with roles such as All Might and whatnot. But you can't deny where he came from and that he was still good back then. It's like a lot of these voice actors did still improve. They weren't always as good as they are now. And I'm sure some of the voice actors who are in this improved as well and were better in future projects. They were just not good here. Especially the voice actor for the cop. He was terrible. Like, the delivery was so bad. But again, maybe that was exactly why you requested this for me to do in dub. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. We will do that at some point in the future. I don't know when at the moment. But at least we got to the first episode now, right? We at least started it. That is the point of this donation reward appreciation week. Hope you enjoyed this first episode reaction, everyone who's tuning in. And thank you once again to Isabel for donating for this. For now, tell me in the comments below, what did you think? And yeah, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.